This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 16th, 2020 Town of North Haven Board of Finance meeting. My name is Timothy Doheny. Our chairman, Mr. Monaco, is unable to attend this evening, so he's asked me to chair our meeting. In accordance with Vermont's Public Health Emergency and Civil Preparedness Orders, Executive Orders 7B, 7D, and 9L, in-person public access, this meeting is not permitted, and there is no public comment. However, you can view this meeting on NHTV, which is available for Comcast and Xfinity providers on channels 20 and 1084. And if you're on Frontier, on channel U96053, or you can dial in at 929-205-6099, and the meeting access code is 870-7434-8578. Furthermore, because of this evening's storm, it was decided that it would be best for the members if we conduct this meeting via Zoom, and so that's what we're going to do. In attendance tonight, we have Nancy Barrett, Michael Hallahan, Diane Vasicchio, Ed Swinkowski, Mike Frieda, and we also have Town Attorney Jeff D'Onofrio, Ellen Dufour, and myself. So I think we'll start with the minutes. Do we have any comments on the minutes of our November 18th meeting?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. And again, this is more of a general issue, and I'm certainly more than happy to go ahead and approve the minutes from the previous meeting as they exist. But I'd just like to raise the issue of, since the minutes to the Board of Finance meetings are a matter of public record, I'm just wondering, why is it that we can't actually include what we discussed? It just seems like this is so bare bones, an announcement of just who opened the meeting and ultimately who closed the meeting, and report on from Ed in terms of accounting. It just seems like there's so little that's actually contained, and in particular during this pandemic where we do not have a live audience, I think even more so that the public really deserves more information. And I know last week we spoke about the STEEP grant, the special funds ESSER transfers, the bus contract, the tax deferment payments, and also why the fire chief was not going to be giving his presentation to the Board of Finance. So I'd just like to raise this issue, and certainly we can discuss it, but I for one would just like to propose that we have a little bit more substance to our meeting minutes, because I think the public certainly deserves it.
Well, I think we might need to defer this for Mr. Monaco to return, but I think in the past, Nancy, the minutes have meant to be a record of the official business which has been conducted at the meeting, and that the discussions which are important to all the members and of course to the town residents don't actually get into minutes because we don't take any action on them. And I think that's what we've done in the past. So there's some longtime board members here, and if they have any comments, I'm more than happy to let them speak up. But that's my understanding of what we've done in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in addition to that, Tim, I would say that minutes are subject to interpretation as well. So I think when you write something, it could be misinterpreted on a document versus hearing the discussion.
Oh, absolutely. I would agree with you, Diane, that there's certainly always room for interpretation, but to the extent that it can be presented as factually as possible without, weighing in on some valuation, I think that there is some merit to that. And this really is the only board that does not provide, really detailed minutes. I know the Board of Selectmen as well as the Board of Education provide, pretty substantial meeting minutes. And I think that particularly since we're not discussing any, or we're not allowing any public commentary, that I just think that this is something that's important. But I'm happy to revisit this issue. I just wanted to put it out there so that people can be thinking about it.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. I'll take a motion on the minutes. You'll need to unmute to take a
I'll move to approve the minutes as written.
second, please.
I'm happy to second it.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Did we lose Jim, by the way? I don't see Jim. Does anyone else see Jim?
He dropped off.
Yeah, he dropped off.
All right, Ed, we're gonna move on. Would you call him and ask him to rejoin if he can, maybe with just the way it was, if he can, Ed?
Yeah.
If you have his number? Thank you. All right, before we get on to Mr. D'Onofrio, I did want to acknowledge that we did receive correspondence from our third select woman, Sally Buemi. She has a email which was addressed to Chairman Monaco. Everyone has a copy in their packets, and you can read that actually. All right, and then if I could then introduce Mr. Jeffrey D'Onofrio.
Actually,
who
Tim,
does-
before you go any further with this, I'm just wondering, now this is the second month that we've had someone writing in to the board. I believe it was Mary White last month, and now Sally Buemi this month. And I'm just wondering, why is it that this is not actually either read aloud and or entered into the minutes? Especially since we don't have the ability to have people call in and offer public commentary.
You know, first of all, although we only have one letter this month, it could get overwhelming to read all kinds of letters into the record. It's basically in lieu of public comment. It's Sally commenting on the last meeting. In this case, she covers a couple of different topics, but I mean, you know, historically we read or print in the minutes verbatim when someone speaks up at public comment, so I'm not sure why we would do it here.
Well, again, we're freeing up time because we don't have the public commentary at the end. So the meeting by definition is shorter. Oh, okay. Jim? Again,
Say that again, please, Nancy.
I'm just saying that in the past, we have had public commentary, and really, I think it's a bit of a misrepresentation of the governor's executive orders to say that no in-person access to the meeting equates to no public comment. That's a decision that Chairman Monaco has made. And really, in my opinion, the value of public input in the past has been that someone steps up to the microphone and they state not only their question or their comment or their suggestion, but also some member of the board and or Mr. Frieda actually provides a response. And I think that it's that ability to both be heard and also get a live response that has value not only for the individual, but for all of the people that are listening. And so, for example, the Board of Education in the town of North Haven has live public comment right now as we speak. And so people are able to call into their meetings. So if we're not going to have that and people are encouraged to write in, then it's really, we should call it public correspondence because it's not public commentary.
I can tell you, Nancy, that I did speak with Richie about today's meeting. He, of course, called to let me know he wasn't going to make it. And, you know, we did talk about correspondence in particular, and it was his recommendation that we continue our past practice of mentioning that we did get the correspondence and that it is available in town hall if someone liked it, but what that we would not be reading into the meeting.
So it's available at town hall, meaning, but not as part of the minutes. So how is it available at town hall?
It's part of the
FOI?
package of the meeting obtained at the Board of Finance. I'm sorry, the Finance Office, just like the rest of the meeting materials.
I see. So if somebody asked for the entire packet, they would get it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, or I'm assuming if someone wanted just this correspondence, that Ed would, or someone is on his staff would give them just this piece of correspondence and not the whole package.
Yeah. Again, I just think that Sally made some very pertinent points that relate to the Board of Finance as far as the calendar of meetings, the bus contract, as well as the fire chief's presentation regarding the PSAR contract. So I just thought it was relevant, and we do have a secretary that could read this particular email. That's all. Oh, what's happening here?
I don't know.
I estimate Mr. Lianis is trying to share his screen.
That is certainly possible.
You're about to find out.
Reviewing Jim Lianis's screen. That's what it says at the top here. All right.
There you go.
Okay, we're back. We're back.
Sorry, I
Okay.
think that was me. All right, having said that, we do have our town attorney, Jeff D'Onofrio, here. Jeff, you might want to tip your computer down to the shade so we get the full view here. Thank you.
Better?
Please go ahead.
Oh, look
Thank
at
you.
that smile. All right.
Thanks very much. I appreciate you accommodating me tonight. This is a quick item that I just wanted to address the board on. I was informed last week by the town that AMR, American Medical Response, notified our North Haven Fire Chief that members of the Board of Finance recently contacted AMR employees with questions. And I need to investigate further, but since I represent the town in connection with various proceedings involving AMR at the Connecticut Department of Public Health, I wanted to alert you to that fact that we have ongoing proceedings. Many of you may be aware of the fact that we had a contentious multi-hearing process whereby the town of North Haven obtained the primary service area for the basic life support level of emergency medical services. And I'm sure none of you have seen the transcripts. I know none of you were at those hearings, but in the context of those hearings, AMR tried to use the Board of Finance against the town in connection with that PSAR application. I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to see any Board of Finance members being called as witnesses. So I would simply ask you that if any of your members have questions about any of the proceedings with AMR, if any of your members have interest in any of the proceedings with AMR, that please go through the proper channels. I'm always available to answer any questions that you may have. Like I said, we still have pending contested matters at DPH with AMR, and I don't want to see anybody unwittingly get dragged into that.
All right, thank you, Jeff. I'm going to open up the question in just a second, but I think I'm going to allow Mike to speak for a second if he'd like to.
Yes. Let me say very clearly, nobody on this board should be calling AMR regarding talking to employees regarding what we went through with taking back the PSA. Nobody. I'm not too happy about it. Jeff is telling you what his opinion is, but the reality is we have pending matters with AMR. Nobody should be talking to employees. AMR has told their employees, do not talk to Board of Finance members. They're to direct everything back to the fire chief or the town. So I look at it this way. I'm not happy with it because it happened or it allegedly happened. And I'm not happy with it because it does three things in my mind, which I find distasteful. It undermines the town of North Haven. Number two, it undermines the great efforts of the town attorney, who spent months and months and months with the fire chief and Deputy Chief Scott Martis in getting us the PSA. And it totally undermines the fire chief, who is probably one of the brightest fire chiefs in the state of Connecticut right now. So it should never happen again, because a side of me thinks there's a little bit of subterfuge here, and I don't appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Do any of the members have any questions for Attorney D'Onofrio?
Do we have any,
Sorry, go ahead.
ongoing legal litigation with AMR at this time, or are they in our rearview mirror? Has everything been completed in terms of their contractual obligations to us?
Well, they never had a contract with us.
Mhm.
What they did was they held the DPH designation as the basic life support, in other words, ambulance transport level service, PSA, primary service area designation from the Department of Public Health. That proceeding is concluded. However, we still have regulatory proceedings both against the town by AMR and by the town against AMR that are pending at DPH. Complaints that each of the fire department and AMR respectively filed against one another with respect to various incidents. And those are in the process of being investigated and eventually will be adjudicated at DPH. And there's no way that anybody on the Board of Finance would know about those because I certainly have never appeared in front of you to talk about AMR before. So I understand that you may not be privy to what's going on, but that's why I asked to be put on the agenda tonight so I could let you know that there are pending matters between the parties and I don't want to see anybody taken advantage of or anybody used because like I said, one of the arguments that AMR made in the 5-day PSAR proceeding was that the Board of Finance didn't support the fire department.
Mm.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. And
Jeff,
if you have
do you-
questions, if you want transcripts of the PSAR proceedings, just send me an email. I'll send you everything. I'm happy to give you any information that you want, even though there's nothing. The Board of Finance doesn't have any jurisdiction over this because there's no appropriation, there's no financing of the contract with Nelson Ambulance that's involved. But if you're, as a member of the Board of Finance, if you're interested in what went down, then by all means, let me know, and I'm happy to share the information with you.
Yeah. Now, since we did award the new PSAR or PSA to Nelson, then the AMR has lost. That as you said, that is concluded. So what ongoing litigation or problems are there between us and AMR?
Well, I'll answer your question, but just one correction. The town holds the PSA.
Right. I'm
All
sorry. Yes.
3 levels. We did
Right.
not award it to Nelson. What we did was enter into a contract with Nelson at no expense to the town, whereby Nelson provides the BLS service as essentially a subcontractor. The ongoing proceedings that we have to do with individual incidents that occurred in North Haven while AMR was the BLS PSA. Individual incidents involving patients in North Haven.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me share a
All
couple
right.
of things.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
As Jeff said, the Board of Finance has no jurisdiction over this. But as Jeff said, if you'd like to see copies of the transcripts, they'll be made available to anybody. But what everybody here should know is now for the first time in many years, we have a contract with Nelson. And that contract allows us, with the fire chief and the fire staff, to manage priority 1, 2, and 3 calls and hold Nelson to timeframes for priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3. That is a major advantage. And as I've said before, now we have ambulance cars with GPS systems so our fire department can track the location. We didn't have that before. This is a good thing for the town. Those are a couple of the many benefits that we see with this. So nobody, I want to repeat it one more time, and we better have an understanding here. Nobody should be calling AMR employees during this time frame or any time frame.
Yep.
And the other thing I should have mentioned is, in addition, when I said transcripts, I mean that, you may say, well, I don't want to read 1,000 pages of transcripts. If you want to read the decision that the Department of Public Health issued, certainly email me. I'll be happy to send you a copy of the decision, which was taken exception to by AMR. So there's actually 2 decisions. There's the decision from the hearing officer, and then there's the decision from the hearing officer appointed to review the hearing officer's recommended decision after AMR took exception to it. That's more concise reading. That's probably about 20 pages or so. But if you really want to get an understanding of what the issues were, because I have to say it was quite an eye-opening experience going through those hearings and learning about what was going on before North Haven obtained the PSA. And I think if you as residents, if you have an interest in EMS in town, which I assume everybody probably has a general interest, as we all get older, I think our interest grows. But if it's something you're interested in, just email me. I'll send you the decision right away if you're interested.
Yeah. Jeff, I just have a quick question for you. Again, given the fact that it sounds like AMR has some very bitter feelings about losing this PSAR award from the DPH, is there any reason to believe that there's any credibility to these rumors that someone from the Board of Finance has been contacting AMR?
I have no idea. That's why I say I need to investigate it further.
Sure.
Certainly it'd be kind of strange for AMR to reach out to the town and suggest that, but would it surprise me? No.
No.
But like I said, when I found out, I said, you know what, I probably should have talked to the Board of Finance a year ago when the testimony was coming in from AMR that they thought there was a working group, if you recall, some
Yes.
of you on the board at the time, there was a working group, and that was kind of, they had some documents that they had FOI'd from the town, minutes of Board of Finance meetings, minutes of the working group meetings, the working group's recommendation, past budget discussions, and essentially the approach they were taking was to say that North Haven fiscally would not support the PSAR. And of course, we if you saw the transcripts, you'd see the approach that we took was to show continuous levels of increased support for the fire department. And in fact, the ability of the town by holding the PSA to have more financially advantageous arrangements, such as a bundle billing agreement, than existed with a complete lack of any contractual relationship, bundle billing agreement or BLS PSA agreement. So, we were able to defeat that argument. But, I just, when I got the call, I said, you know what, I got to make sure that everybody on the Board of Finance understands that there's still a lot going on behind the scenes with AMR, and they don't get themselves dragged up to Hartford for some hearing at some point.
Sure. No, I think it's perfectly reasonable to, just state exactly that. But I also just wanted to point out again, because of this bundled billing agreement and the ability now of our paramedics to actually provide ambulance transport, that this could actually be a source of revenue, even greater revenue for the town. So it does actually have financial implications. So to say that the PSAR award does not impact the Board of Finance, I don't think is entirely accurate, because there are implications for revenue.
Well, what I said was you don't have jurisdiction. In other words, the Board of Selectmen and the Fire Commission in March of 2019, I think it was, approved the town's pursuit of the PSA. And the reason it didn't come to the Board of Finance is because no appropriation was sought, because the town's intent, and in reality, the effect of the contract with Nelson, if you've seen it, is that there is no cost to the town. Likewise, there's the bundle billing agreement, which I edited recently, provides that under no circumstances is the town paying anybody anything. So that's what I meant is, we're not expending, we don't need an appropriation to expend town funds in connection with the provision of these services. It affects the Board of Finance in the sense that it hopefully will result in additional revenue. And I think, the opportunity to bundle bill is a significant opportunity, because I do this work in other towns, and I see that the lack of a bundle billing agreement, the way that Medicare requires one bill, so the likelihood of revenue being lost increases pretty significantly when there's no bundle billing agreement. So I certainly agree that, with the bundle billing agreement, hopefully 6 months from now, once this thing is fully ramped up and running efficiently like it should be, you'll see a positive revenue contribution. So,
well, let me jump in on that, Jeff. So this bundle billing impact is the wrong word. It's not going to impact the Board of Finance. It's going to illustrate and illustrate to and illuminate the Board of Finance as to what the bundle billing is going to do when our fire chief comes and presents in the workshop sessions, because you're going to see an increase in those fees in terms of incremental revenue. Ed, myself, and Paul are already making a projection on that. So it has no impact. It's an illustration and an illumination to the Board of Finance as to what it means in terms of incremental revenue. Not for the Board of Finance, incremental revenue for the town of North Haven.
The thing that really struck me after the hearings is Deputy Chief Martis and Chief Janiszewski are professionals as firefighters and EMS experts. And the North Haven, the way this works, if I could take a little more of your time, and I don't want to I didn't intend to even speak this long, but the way it works is in 2014, the legislature, following a task force created by the legislature, changed the law so that municipalities could obtain the PSA without proving that the incumbent PSA holder, whether it's at the first responder, paramedic, or basic life support level, was not performing well. Up until 2014, if a municipality wanted to get control of the PSA, they had a very high burden. But the task force determined that, EMS is one of the most sensitive personal services that you can provide. A lot of people, when they call 911, they could be at a crossroads or a low point in their life. So certainly the municipality should have control over who provides those services. And the first step in getting the PSA was for the town to file what's called an alternative EMS plan, a plan that would show that the town was better suited than AMR to provide better patient care in North Haven. And then that alternative plan and the town's application has to be recommended for approval by the sponsor hospital, in this case, Yale New Haven, who did recommend it. And then it goes to the regional council, the EMS regional council, who unanimously recommended it. So it wasn't just, hey, this is something we'd like to have, and DPH went along with it despite AMR opposing it. There's a lot of eyes on it and a high bar that you have to meet to be able to get it. And so some of the things that North Haven Fire Department wants to do at the EMS level that were not occurring under the prior arrangement with AMR due to a lack of a contract and due to AMR's refusal to comply with provisions of the alternative plan, including, quite frankly, a complete refusal to provide data. So we had the first responder PSA, we had the paramedic PSA, but the basic life support PSA holder was not giving us data. So our ability to determine response times, our ability to integrate at all levels of care, the EMS system was really compromised. And so Martis and Janiszewski really know what they're doing when it comes to EMS. And they crafted a very, very solid, very comprehensive alternative plan. And that really was the basis. It wasn't us going up there and saying AMR was doing a bad job. It was us going up there and saying, we have a way that we can do it better. And Department of Public Health twice agreed. So I think, a lot of times we look at the dollars and cents, and you're the Board of Finance, you're the budget making authority for the town, you're the fiscal watchdog. That's what you're charged with. But this goes a lot deeper than dollars and cents. It goes to a really important service in a great town that previously didn't have any ability to control the provision of that service. And now you've got all three PSAs, and, it's all on us now. If it improves, then, hats off. If it doesn't improve, then we got to fix it, so it's totally on North Haven now. We asked for it, we got it. So it's up to those guys to succeed. And I'm just telling you, based on spending a lot of time with them up at DPH, really for the first time spending any time with them, I was very impressed with the job they did on the plan, and so was DPH.
All right, Jeff. Thank you very much for the
Can I add one thing?
discussion.
I have to add one thing.
Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, and that is that if AMR somehow stated that the Board of Finance or members of the Board of Finance were not supportive of the taking back of the PSAR, that is totally mischaracterizing us and misrepresenting us.
Agreed.
And if somehow the study that Mr. Monaco and I took of the fire department, where we found that AMR was not providing adequate service to the town, and we supported, and from our report we stated that we were 100% behind the acquisition of those responsibilities. Then I wish that someone contacted me or Mr. Monaco in the previous years, because we would have certainly gone up there and testified what we found and how we were supportive of what the fire department's direction was and what the town should do and what they ended up doing. But I'm sure that this is all somewhat moot right now, since they did award us that contract or that responsibility.
Yeah, thank you for that. We did have First Selectman Frieda's support, and he was in the on-deck circle swinging a heavy-weighted bat, waiting for the opportunity to jump in and testify if we needed him. But we were able to rebut those arguments that were made, and it wasn't necessary to bother any of the members of the board.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thanks
once again, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the discussion. I'm sure we all appreciate our positions as members of the Board of Finance, and we know we're here to represent the town. And so again, thank you.
Thank
Why don't
you.
we move on to the reports, please? Sorry, Jeff.
Nice job.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Let's go on to the reports. Any comments on revenues?
Did you say revenues? We usually do expenditures first.
Yeah, new chairman tonight.
Okay, so we're switching it up. Okay. Well, you tricked me, because I'm like, I'm used to I had the
New
wrong
sheriff
thing
in town,
front of me.
new sheriff in town.
Yep.
Right, exactly. New sheriff in town is right.
That's right.
I like the top line revenue first. We get to the bad news later.
The town
All right, any revenue questions?
strong, and it looks like the town clerk's line will exceed the budgeted amount by as much as 300,000 or more by year's end, if last month's revenue is anything that's typical of the months to come.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else have any revenue comments?
No, I just see like we're doing well for this time of year, how many months have gone by, and we seem to be getting more in road permits fees. So that's doing over 100%. And I think it looks good from where we are at this point.
Got the in lieu of taxes, 120,000 of the 250. The only three that were a little bit low were fire fees, building fees, and paramedic services. But again, I think that's just because of the pandemic. But overall, I think that from a revenue standpoint, we're doing quite well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, those building
move on to
funds may fall short by quite a large amount, but then again, I've heard from Mr. Frieda that there's a lot in the pipeline.
Yeah, so let me jump in here, okay? I'm going to take not so much of a positive view right now, and I know that's going to surprise people here, but this is something that Ed and I are watching every day. I'm projecting right now, as we sit here today, a $636,000 deficit on building permit and fire fees between now and the end of the year because of the pandemic. So I'm putting the pressure on myself. I'm going to take the responsibility for this because this is largely a reduction in terms of where we should be right now because of the 37 economic development projects that we lost because of this pandemic. So I am spending a lot of time now on the economic development side to make up some ground here. To Mike Callahan's point, Stacy and I had a long discussion today, and the town clerk fees are doing very well. So Ed and I are watching this line by line every single day in town hall. And if we fall short on some of these lines, the way we look at it is that categorically, if we can deliver the revenue, as an example, if the town clerk fees go up significantly, it's going to help offset this. Our goal is to meet the line item objectives of each revenue item. But in the end, if we can get a category or an aggregate balancing of the total revenue on these line items, then we'll be satisfied with that also. But on the building permit fees, it's on my shoulders to try to turn this around. And that's my own challenge every day when I look in the mirror during this pandemic. That's one of the challenges that I present to myself. Get it done, bring these projects in, no excuses.
All right, thank you, Mike. My only comment is we did get the tax collection report, and through November, we are essentially caught up to where we would have been in any of the prior 3 years, despite the ability of the taxpayers to pay a little bit late in October of this year. All right, expenses.
Let's see.
Well, I think Jim's trying to talk, but we cannot hear him. But we'll try to read lips, maybe.
Jim, try your mute button again on the bottom left.
He doesn't have a microphone showing there, so.
Tim, ask Jim to get in the chat box and ask his question.
That's a good point.
Can you type?
Jim, at the bottom of your screen, there's a chat box right in the middle. You can type in your question.
And then make sure you hit enter or return, and then it'll show.
So move your cursor around until you see chat box right at the very bottom of your screen, dead in the middle.
All right, Tim, we got to move it along.
In the meantime, just in terms of, let's see, on page 6, the unemployment compensation, again, it's at 285%, and I'm just wondering, is that something that's sustainable? Is that something that we foresee is going to be changing anytime soon, Ed?
Well, unlike the private sector, in government, we're paying dollar for dollar for the people that have been laid off. So that's why you're seeing a higher number. If people are laid off, we pay the unemployment directly. So as for right now, I think, let me see here. There's still some people that we're collecting, so we're going to still have to pay until that's settled.
And this is just a general question, Ed, but
Sure.
I was wondering if you could just explain the connection between office supplies at the aggregate level at central supply services and then office supplies for each and every department, because it just seems across the board, office supplies are in excess of what we're budgeting. But then on top of that, you also have for central supply services, which I believe is on page 6, that's also quite high. So I'm just wondering, is there some connection between the two, or are they totally separate?
No, they're separate. If each department needs individual things, it's charged to their line, and a lot of generic stuff, maybe paper and stuff that we dish out from the town hall, will go through that line.
Right. It just seems to be across the board. Yeah.
Office supplies seems to be something that we talk about a lot. I know I brought it up as well.
Right.
So I don't know if it's just we're not planning properly. I mean, it always works out in the end, but it does seem to be something that is overexpended in the departments.
Right. And then
Yeah,
on
because
page,
probably some of the lines are probably low, budgeted too low. Like CIT is only $300, and I'm sure he goes through a lot more than that.
right,
Right.
okay. And then on page 7, again, I've asked this before, Ed, but this, in central facilities, this notion of supplies, that, we're now up to $80,000. We only budgeted 20, and it looks like we're burning through about 10,000 a month. So I don't know what this is. I mean, you had mentioned before, these are pandemic supplies, but what could we
Well,
possibly?
not necessarily just supplies, but it's also the cleaning was going on through the offices. The additional
Well, but-
cleaning that we did for the pandemic.
Yeah, but that's got to be a separate line. I mean, actual cleaning services is a separate line item, right?
True, but we probably just put in there and it just continued. to
Like
go
we
through
have a
that line.
custodial contract for central facilities, and then each department also has custodial
Right.
contract for BOE, et cetera, et cetera. So, so this $10,000, I mean, this doesn't seem sustainable. We're at 400%.
Correct, but it's a lower dollar amount than, I mean, it makes it sound bad when it's 400%, but it's lower.
It's $80,000 so far. So
Yeah, I can
we
give
were
you
on
the
track
detail of
that
it
to
for the
be-
next meeting, or send an email out to everybody what makes it
Okay.
up.
Well,
That
let me
would be
jump
great.
into that. Ed, you just mentioned you've booked the cleaning supplies in terms of the disinfectants in that line. Did you not just say that?
Yes, I did.
All right.
Mhm.
Well,
And that was 3 times a week, so that adds up to a lot of money because that was pretty expensive.
So let me try to answer your question a little bit more clearly, okay? So
Okay.
the fact that we've done this, when we were open into the public, we were disinfecting these buildings and offices just about every night.
Mhm.
And the disinfection by the cleaning company included police cruisers 3 times a week, public works trucks almost every day because of the sanitation. So we have rolled up some significant expenses that now we're finding are not reimbursable expenses. Now, what we've done, Ed and I, since we are now closed and only working by appointment, we have cut back the level of that so that we can start reducing those dollars that you're seeing through November. That's the answer.
I see. Okay.
Right, because early on, we were trying to go through FEMA to get reimbursed for it, and some of it, a lot of it wasn't, they told us it wasn't going to be reimbursed, so.
I see.
So one more
Can you
specific
hear me?
example, Nancy. One more specific example is that when we were open in town hall and there were people coming in to see me, we were disinfecting upstairs in town hall every day. Now we're only doing it once a week. So you'll start seeing that hopefully be reduced in the next December reporting period, because you're looking at November reports now. And then hopefully we could continue to decrease that number as we reduce the number of disinfectants every day that we've been doing here for months.
Hey, Ed, when I look at this report, I tend to go from big to small. I kind of start the back sometimes and see who we are, and I look at the departments and see who the departments are, and then like the rest of the members, I try and look at the individual lines and see what's causing some of the differences here. And
Okay.
It's no surprise to anyone on this committee that we've had some additional expense. We've talked about it last 3 or 4 meetings, I'm guessing. So at some point, will you be able to look at where we are, maybe say after the end of this month, and maybe make a projection? I mean, because for instance, right now, and I understand there could be some lumpy expenses in here, things like bond payments and insurance payments, but we're at 49%, which is about 7% more if you just do a straight pro rata, through November, right?
Right.
So is there a way to essentially sort of give us a projection and look at some of these and not every line, obviously, but maybe give us a big picture of where you think we're going to end up here?
Yeah, I could do that for the next meeting. Yeah, I'll put that together and or go over it with Mike and then hand it up and then go over it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Are there any other questions on the expense report?
Well, sometimes on an aggregate basis, the higher percentage amount might be due to prepaying or front loading some of the expenses that occur throughout the year. So
Yeah, that's what I meant, Mike, when I said some of them are lumpy. Plus there's encumbrances too, as we know.
Right, what Mike's talking about, that would include the debt and the insurance are all paid up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insurance is heavy in the first half of the year. I'm sorry, debt payments are heavy in the first half of the year.
So it may be more important to just find out where we were last year which turned out to be a pretty good year for us. So at this point in November, we could see what our income and expenses were. But it's hard to, of course, for Mr. Swinkowski or anyone to give a prediction about the balance at year's end, since we don't know what the state is going to give us in terms of money. Sometimes until the last minute, sometimes until May. Is that right, sir?
That is correct.
Great uncertainties of living in Connecticut.
However, all the pilot money did come in. That was one good thing.
Excellent. I just had one question, or not question, just an observation on page 13 of expenses.
Sure.
And this is a continuation of the discussion we had last month about storm expenses. Now, under the tree expense line, we never knew that storms would hit us, so we budgeted 30,000, and right now we're at 192,000 of expenses. I'm sorry, 198 of expenses, and so
Plus the encumbrances.
plus encumbrances. So we're 192 over budget there on that line, which again is probably a bargain considering what the town had to do and the massive effort and expense it took to just get us back to a status quo. But the good news is that that Mr. Swinkowski is able to expend that line using MRSA funds. So I know this jumps to the MRSA report, which is labeled municipal grants. But the great thing about that expense being qualified for MRSA funds, it means there's less MRSA funds, less MRSA revenue that will not be applied or not be unapplied to our current budget, which means that we budgeted MRSA in full as a revenue item from the beginning of the year, and we rarely, well, we've never used it in its entirety, but at least this qualifies as an expense where we can use those funds. So it just helps in the overall allocation of revenue.
You're absolutely right, Michael. That's a perfect way to describe it. That's what Ed and I are looking at every day. You're absolutely right.
Ed, I just had a quick question for you on page 14, under, what is that? The Parks Department, the very last line item, track / field facility maintenance. We have an encumbrance of $34,000. Is that for the turf field, or what exactly is that?
No, that's for all that is for Vanicor Field. I don't have in front of me the detail that makes it all up, but I know that's all for Vanicor Field.
So, yeah, I'd like to find out what that is, because that came up in the budget meetings.
Okay.
If you recall the Vanicor Field, and there was options as far as repair and replacing, and because that was my question too. So I'd like to know what is that? Are we doing patches to it, or what's the plan?
I believe there's some extra work that was done in there, but I'll get you some more details on that.
All right, thank you,
Yeah,
Ed.
because we've already spent $44,000, so this is in excess of that, and we've only budgeted 67. So that would be helpful, Ed, if you could provide that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions on expenses? If not, we'll move on to special funds.
Special funds, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Swinkowski for putting the education numbers with regard to the leftover surplus from last year and their capital account.
I noticed that too, Mike. It's quite a bit of money. It's almost $1 million.
Yeah, now there are expenses that have occurred out of those line items, and is it listed anywhere as to what they expended the money on?
That's a great question.
No, it is not. Those are just summary numbers.
Okay, I mean, last month they spent 36,000 on something in capital, and just wondering what it might have been. That's all.
All right, thank you, Mike. Any other questions?
Find
on
out and let
special
you know,
funds?
Mike, if you want.
That's all right. About that.
Thanks, Ed.
If it gets up, let me know.
Board of Ed?
Board of Ed. It does look like their special education transportation line is budgeted to be 173,000 in the red. And we got two financial reports or two financial accounting sheets from Board of Ed. On the Muni, it shows, as I say, 173,000 in the red. On the other one, it just has a comment saying in line with budget. Again, that's the special education line 510C. And
You know,
so,
Mike, I should have mentioned, and I think Ed could probably fill in, but I think we've all had questions, by the way, about what we've gotten from the Board of Ed because they encumber everything. So they gave us an additional document, which I should have acknowledged, which shows the actual expenditures by line year to date. And then to your point, they've given us some comments about where they are and where they may end up the year at. Maybe you could, on that second report, Mike, reference a line for the special ed there.
what, 510C, 510C on page 2 of their Muni report. It's on page 1 of the other report.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously that the encumbrances there. Maybe they misforecast whatever the obligations will be, but it can't be. One report says in line with budget, and that can't be true. That's all.
Mike, I think what he gave you was one that's fully encumbered through the whole year, and the other one is on a month-by-month basis without the full year of encumbrances.
But then they should clarify, because this is confusing.
Yeah,
Like,
the
I
one that's
liked it
fully
better
encumbered is
when
for their
we-
use.
It was better when we had the narrative.
Okay.
I would point out that they're a little bit different presentations. So on the
Yeah,
normal Munis report, we've got a year-to-date actual of 265. The other report, it actually does show both. Sorry, it shows the 265 and it shows the budget, Mike. So it does show the 265 that was expended. That reconciles.
Right.
So I'm sorry. So
So Ed, let me weigh in here.
Sure.
We met with Patrick and Howard. We
Right.
asked them to submit to us what the Board of Finance requested at the last meeting. Can you explain to the Board of Finance what that second report is? I mean, if they've offered two reports, I can see where the people here are going to be confused. But originally they were building the report with all the encumbrances in.
Right, that's the Munis report.
Now he's doing it month to month, correct?
Correct. He's got both reports here in this package.
Right. So if you want the month to month without the encumbrances, refer to that report.
That's the one that's on legal size paper, 2-pager.
yeah. I just think that the one where we got the summary of the big changes was better, but this, they're explaining it, it's just we have to look for it. But Ed, I have a question I would like
Sure.
answered from them.
Sure.
So on the cleaning services, it says currently trending due to, unbudgeted deep cleaning every Wednesday. So my question for them is, since they've been doing the hybrid, are they not cleaning on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday when the new crew comes in for Monday?
Yes, they are, Diane. They are.
Okay, well, they don't say that. So I think that this is a public record, and that caught my eye as a parent,
So
not just a finance person.
So because it's been going back and forth in terms of distance learning and in-school learning, when they're on a 2-1-2 format, Monday, Tuesday in, Wednesday everybody out, Thursday, Friday, the other half in. Wednesday is a cleansing day, and then either Friday or Saturday is another cleansing day to prepare for Monday's in-class learning.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because I haven't heard that anywhere else. I knew about the Wednesday.
Right.
And I know about the model. because my
Yeah.
daughter's in the model. I think that since that's a public record, that should be corrected and state that because it caught my eye immediately.
I think part of the confusion on this, Diane, is the fact that they've been back and forth with, with COVID cases, suspending in classroom learning. And when that happens, then no, it's not the regularity of the sanitizing of all the buildings. But I spoke to Patrick specifically on 2-1-2 format. Wednesday and either Friday or Saturday is the disinfecting.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I just had a quick question regarding the supernumeraries. Given this 2-1-2 format, are the supernumeraries actually in the buildings on Wednesdays?
If staff's in the buildings, they are in the buildings, yes.
So I guess I don't know the answer to that. Are the staff in the buildings on Wednesdays or not?
I
Yeah.
don't. We really.
I don't know the answer, so that's why I was wondering. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions on special funds? I'm sorry, Board of Ed. If not, I'll take a motion on the reports.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I think Jim seconded. See?
Thank you, Jim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of one member to the Open Space Advisory Committee. I'm happy to take nominations, but I will tell you that Mr. Monaco was willing to serve, and I'm happy to nominate him unless another board member would also like it, and then I guess we could have a discussion about that. But for now, let me just ask if other board members are interested in the position.
Mr.
Hearing,
Monaco is our current member,
silence.
right?
Excuse me, Mike?
Mr. Monaco is currently our representative on that board.
He is currently a member. Yeah, he is. Yes.
Okay, I will nominate him. Well, I guess you should see if there's any other interest, but I've never heard of any other interest.
All right,
Diane, is that
Mike,
what
let's
Diane
go ahead
wants
then.
to do? No? Okay. Oh, you know what? Jim cannot object. We could nominate Jim. No? Okay.
He's saying
All right.
no.
All right. Darn it.
Great.
All right.
Oh.
I move that we nominate Mr. Monaco. A second,
Okay.
please.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Leonos has indicated yes as well. All right, do we have any other comments or business this evening? Hearing nothing, I'll accept the motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Jim seconded.
All right,
Okay, Jim.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Nice
Merry
job.
Christmas
Nice
and
job,
happy
Tim.
holidays to each and every one of you. I know this would be a time when we would get together, but appreciate your participation on this board. I wish you and your families very happy and healthy holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Same to you.
We
Thank you,
look
Mike.
forward to seeing everyone in the new year. Happy holidays. Please be safe, everyone, and please be kind to one another.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy.
All right.
Have a good
Bye.
evening, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.